All right, guys, I got everybody down. We got about 20 seconds here. I got Schrock and Duggar and Schrock in the opening there, Corn.
Okay.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Anybody's game now. We understand that Vanderbilt's a very good team. We understand that Xavier's a very good team. We also know that Oregon's a really good team. So, we're going to go up there with a positive mindset. We're going to just continue to try to play good baseball, and I'm going to carry over to each and every game.
This team means a lot to me, and I'm going to go out there, and they say that there's not going to be any more structural damage, and I'm not going to hurt myself any worse. So you're just going to, they tell me I just have to play through some pain.
Okay, the Tigers and Gamecocks talking it up as we count down towards the first pitch of the regionals coming up on Friday. And we are here in Nashville to cover the Tigers, and we are in Columbia. Came back at a very long ride over to Carolina Stadium today to further cover the Gamecocks in their preparation. I had a very quick ride up here to Nashville to get ready to cover the Tigers as they prepare to take on the Gamecocks prepare to take on Campbell. Friday night. Good to have you with us on this Wednesday edition of Sports Talk from Nashville and from Columbia. Phil Kornblut here. Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, and Steakman Graham Pope back in our Columbia studios. Glad to have you with us on this Wednesday night. We've got much to talk about, of course. South Carolina picks up a basketball commitment from a big man from the state of Louisiana. He's a pretty good prospect according to his coach, who we will talk to tonight. His name is James Thompson. He's 6'9", about 215, and he is he's a guy that can play inside, but as a lot of big guys like to do, he drifts outside. They can hit the outside shot as well. He had a lot of big-time attention. I tell you what, guys, they did a heck of a job keeping it quiet. We did know that he visited USC a couple of weeks ago, the same weekend that Daniel House Jr. came in for a visit, and that was the only visit he took, and he's going to sign with South Carolina tomorrow afternoon, and we'll hear from his coach. Also coming up in a little bit, we'll hear from USC baseball coach Chad Holbrook. He'll join us live, talk about the final preparations for the most part for the regionals. So you were over there to visit with some of the players today, including a couple of those walking wounded.
Yes, Max Schrock, who you heard from in the open there, he says he feels as good as he's felt in several weeks. He had the ankle that morphed into a back injury that's had him hobbling. He's played sparingly, but he hopes to DH all week. He's not back to playing defense yet. He hasn't fielded a ground ball in several days, if not a few weeks. So don't look for him in the field, but look for him back out in the lineup. And Connor Bright, his elbow, he's had just a freaky season. The elbow injury, had a medical scare where he ended up in the emergency room in the hospital. But he says he hopes to be back out there in the outfield and back in the lineup. So that's good news. We still don't know who the Gamecocks are going to pitch. They're playing coy. Maybe we can weasel it out of Chad Holbrook, Corn, when he joins us at the bottom of the hour. But still no definitive word on what the Gamecocks' pitching plans are.
Well, of course, the thinking is they're playing the number 4 seed. You might be able to skate by without your number one starter and save him for that second game. But that can also be a very dangerous move as well. We'll be back. More Sports Talk in just a moment.
Corn, tell me Thompson's coach's name one more time, please.
Don Green.
Don Green, got it. What time's he coming on, Corn Green, Coach?
7:14.
Got it. You guys going to a Travis Tritt concert tonight or anything, Corn?
I'm going to eat. I'm going to sleep.
Sounds fair.
Because I am bushed.
You don't listen to that nonsense, bro.
What's today, the 28th?
28th. Stand by.
And we look forward to spending the next couple of hours with you doing what we do best here on Sports Talk, and that is talk sports, talk South Carolina sports, things happening in our state that are pertinent to the sports listeners of South Carolina. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. You can email us as well. TalkBack@SportsTalkSC.com. On Twitter, it's @SportsTalkSC. The website, always check out the website. The very latest we come across. And the website is SportsTalkSC.com. And on Facebook, Sports Talk Radio Network. Follow us on iHeartRadio. Over two of our affiliates, WGVL up in Greenville, WSCA down in Myrtle Beach. And, of course, you can always catch our audio and our video streaming live on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. If you're looking at the video, you see me in Nashville. The other guys. Studios in Columbia. Rain some here this afternoon, and much like most of the south and southeast, I think you can expect a threat of afternoon showers here in Nashville. Same thing, I'm sure, in Columbia. Looking ahead to baseball coming up this weekend. Came back since you've been back in the office, doing the hard work today as I was making my way here to Middle Tennessee. Update us on any
on
of
any of
the
the
major
news notes you've run across today, besides the fact that the Gamecocks
got that
basketball commitment. He'll actually be signing tomorrow. James Thompson out of Baton Rouge, Louisiana,
6'9", about 215, and he'll be joining the Gamecocks, and that will tighten up the numbers. I got to take a look at my breakdown and see where that puts them. But that's
going
to put them probably right at 13, maybe 14. Let me take a quick look here at my roster breakdown with the addition of Thompson. Let's see, 1, 4, 11, 14, 15 minus Jalen Shaw. That'll put them right at 13 with this most recent addition. And they continue to, of course, work a couple of transfers. Robert Carter Jr. reportedly is going to visit South Carolina on Saturday. So they continue to do their due diligence when it comes to recruiting to try to improve the overall talent level of the program.
Yeah, and that's a pretty good-looking prospect, at least on paper, and you look at his offers, and a guy that LSU was recruiting, that's the kind of guy, he just looks like the kind of guy that normally goes to LSU. One thing about LSU, they might be down in given years, but they always seem to have really athletic, strong kids, and they all seem to be from Baton Rouge. That job must be cush in terms of your recruiting budget, because I've seen some LSU teams roll into arenas with nothing but guys from the greater Baton Rouge area and beat the daylights out of other teams.
You can think that having Perry Clark on the staff and his years at Tulane probably paid some dividends in getting this kid to commit to South Carolina. I think the key point is this is the first big man I've heard of that so far that Frank Martin has recruited, Phil, that really is an earnest shot blocker, and I think that's what he's looking for, because he likes to play in your jock defense, and when you do that, there's going to be some leakage, and you got to have an erase at the end of that pencil on the defense like that, and probably this is the guy, once he physically matures, could fit that bill.
Well, from what his coach told me earlier today, South Carolina had been recruiting this guy for a long time. This was not a Johnny come lately sort of situation. Been recruiting him for a long time, and the kid wanted to take it very slowly. He was not in any hurry. He wasn't interested in signing early. He wanted to take his time. His coach kind of advised him to let things play out with coaching staffs and see who stayed and who left, so he wouldn't be caught up in all that mess. So that's one of the reasons why he's gone right down to the wire here with his signing coming up tomorrow. K-Mac, I know you're going to hit some news notes. I'm just going to pass along this breaking story nationally. If you haven't seen it, Tiger Woods announcing he'll not play in the U.S. Open next month. So the back is not coming along quick enough for Tiger. He's going to miss his second major of the year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he misses all of them this year.
Yeah, he just shut it down now.
Sammy Watkins is $12 million richer than he was when he went to bed last night. He has a 4-year deal with the Buffalo Bills. The total contract, $19.9 million, and the $12.8 million is, of course, the guaranteed money for Sammy Watkins, the 4th pick in the NFL draft. One other note to pass along, Corn. The Braves making the trek to Beantown there in Fenway Park to take on the Red Sox, who they have given a jolt of life after a 10-game losing streak. Now the Red Sox have won 2 straight, courtesy of the Braves. Former Coastal Carolina standout Tommy LaStella got the big call today up to the big club with the Braves, so he is not only with the team, he is in the starting lineup. He's going to bat 8th and play second base, and Dan Ugla is going to see daggers at him through the dugout fencing.
Oh, no.
Tommy LaStella, he's done a heck of a job. I tell you what, he's moved up quickly through the ranks with the Braves, and now he will get his chance. There was a coach fired at Clemson today.
Yeah, the rowing coach. They don't play around, right? 3 times, 3 straight years missing the postseason. You're out of there. Is this the trend that Dan Radakovich, is he going to walk around? I'm telling you, he is not personality-wise, because Dan Radakovich, you can go up and have a nice conversation with in a press box and not feel slimy afterwards. But Mike McGee, who he worked for at South Carolina, was a hire and a fire. Yes, and is that what Dan Radakovich is? Also, Mike McGee was a bottom line, make the tough decisions. If we have to make some changes personnel-wise, I'll do it. Dan Radakovich really a lot in that ilk, Corn, with some of these moves.
Robbie Tenenbaum is no longer the rowing coach at Clemson. I don't think I've ever said his name before. Unfortunately, we had to say it in this mode. And Radakovich said that they have the resources and facilities for their rowing program to compete at a high level each year and every year. And they'll begin a national search immediately. So you're right. They did not make the NCAA championships. Did make it in his first season, did not make it each of the last 3 years, and thus they are making a change in the rowing program.
They're sitting down backwards and not rowing hard enough. You got. I mean, how do you get a better coach to tell guys to sit down and paddle harder?
You have to recruit, I guess.
I guess I'm going to go ahead and throw my name in the hat there.
That job. I would say this.
Listen, you guys are making fun, but rowing is a tough sport.
I'm not saying it's easy to do. I'm not saying. No, I'm not doubting. But I mean,
look at the arms and shoulders on those people.
I'm not saying it's easy, Corn. I know that you couldn't, paddle a boat across Lake Murray or Lake Hartwell for that matter. But
you're right. I really couldn't.
Coach, though, what really goes into it? Paddle faster, guys. That other team's.
Well, I mean, there's technique involved, K-Mac. I mean, it's not just grabbing the paddle and slapping it in the water. It's how you do it, and it's all the training that goes into it. I know it's a sport that might be beyond your grasp.
Right. I get. My family was. We were just middle class people. We didn't have. We weren't members of the yacht club. That's what you really need as a coach. That's the key to being a rowing coach. You just have to have a guy that can go to the yacht club and wine and dine these rich parents and say, send your kid to Clemson.
Or you can find
not Harvard, like the guys that thought they invented Facebook but didn't. Those
or
guys
you can
were
find a top assistant. Watch them look over it, because I know one of the major schools that always keeps a strong rowing program is the University of Washington. Now watch. I wouldn't be surprised if Dan Radakovich doesn't sniff, at least over at the University of Washington, to find an assistant or find some suggestions of where he should look for a rowing coach.
The Winklevoss twins. Those are the only rowers I could name, just because they got Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Okay.
They should probably look at one of the best programs in the country and see if they can find the right person. The golf rankings by GolfStat, what's called the GolfStat Relative Rankings, out today. South Carolina moves up to 14th after finishing 9th in the NCAA championships completed for them earlier this week. Alabama is number 1. Got to see how the championships are coming along. Have you taken a look at that, K-Mac, to see who's playing today?
No, because we don't have anybody in it.
Yeah, but it's still a national championship. I guess I've got to see everything, even when I'm
I know our audience has been
driving 7 hours.
I wonder who's winning that golf tournament that
Let me answer that for you
right now. I mean,
Alabama and Oklahoma State, they're 2-2. This is the championship. Alabama.
You know what? Let's just do blow by the program.
I think we'll keep up with it.
Nice shot.
We'll be right back. Well, we've got a starting pitcher, Jordan Montgomery.
Montgomery's going 1, huh?
Montgomery is.
Where was that at, Corn?
Andrew Kiddick just sent it to me.
Kiddick just sent it. You gonna tweet it?
Yeah. I'm sure it's already out there. I don't believe we're the first to get it.
I'm gonna be close.
Does K-Mac have any news out of the SEC meetings?
Can't make any news out of the SEC meetings. We need to look at Slav's supposed to be addressing the media shortly, and we need to look out for stuff there.
We just got the word from USC that it will be Jordan Montgomery starting on the mound for the Gamecocks. So no fooling around in the mind of Chad Holbrook. He's going to go with his #1 guy against the #4 seed and try and take care of business, which also not only does that mean he's not fooling around guys, it means he's got confidence in Jack Weinkoop, but I'm sure that when we talk to Coach coming up for just a few minutes that he will express that he has a lot of confidence in Weinkoop and the rest of his staff. And, also the thinking could be, and you never know how the baseball games are going to play out, but if South Carolina were to get off to a good, cushy lead on Campbell, you could perhaps get Montgomery out of there after a few innings, couple, 3 innings, maybe if things work out that way. Get him out after just a short number of pitches, and you have him ready for Monday to some degree if you need him in the Monday night game if he gets back to that. But
I think if you just got to go out there and treat it like it's a Friday night start. If he's got it going, you let him go. You don't let him throw 150 pitches, but you've got to treat this game like any other game. I know it's a cliche, but it's true. And I think, Montgomery hasn't been as sharp consistently as he was last year. He's had some outings where he has struggled. Heck, Corn, the last time he pitched was not the best memory for him or the Gamecocks for that matter. So get him back out there. Let him do his thing, and you let your team know that we're going to treat this like a regular series, 3-game series, and we're going to go with Montgomery, Weinkoop, and Crow, just like we do in an SEC series.
I think when you're at home, go status quo. The other guys have to take it away from you. You're at home. Home has been so good to South Carolina. And I think you got to trust in your bullpen. I think they've got great middle relief to get to setting. So if you have any problems, hopefully in that first game, your starter can go 7 to 8 innings, and then you won't have to tax your relievers, and you have them set for games 2 and 3 down the road to try to clinch this thing.
All right. His problem the other night at the tournament was his control. And when he's gotten into trouble this year, it's because his control's been off and his walks were up. And then he's a guy that relies so much on his changeup. If he has to come back with the fastball, if he's behind in the count and has to throw the fastball in there, that's when he really gets into trouble. So it's important for him to stay ahead in the count and have that changeup available for him as his pitch. And that's usually when he is successful. Jordan Montgomery get the start for South Carolina against Campbell on Friday night, and we'll talk more with Chad Holbrook about that coming up. So it looks like Mac Pro, from what we've heard this week, this South Carolina baseball team is about as whole from a health standpoint as it's been in some time. K-Mac, did Trump tell you, is he going to play second, or is he going to be strictly DH?
Strictly a DH. He hasn't taken a ground ball in a couple of weeks. He's just not at that level now, but he said the early exit from the SEC tournament, he got some extra rest. He took batting practice on Monday, woke up on Tuesday, felt great. Said it's the first time he's woke up after a heavy BP session and not felt like a 90-year-old.
Well, one thing that Holbrook said he wanted to make sure was that these guys could play every game. He was tired of them being in and out of the lineup. He felt that was hurting them. So he must think they're good to go for the duration. What did I say? You're calling Chad. Cincinnati. Let's get my offer. Okay, we're back at SportsTalk, South Carolina Radio Network here on a Wednesday night. Glad you're along with us. Got a lot of good stuff to come your way in the next hour. We'll learn more about South Carolina's newest basketball commitments. We'll talk to Coach James Thompson, 6'9" kid from Louisiana in our next hour. Right now, it's time to focus in on USC baseball as we welcome in Coach Chad Holbrook to Sports Talk. Things will get really busy tomorrow. All the teams on the practice field at Carolina Stadium, and then the action begins on Friday night. First thing for you, Chad, how are you feeling? I know you've been struggling the past couple of days, but how's the health? As you look towards the games on Friday.
Well, I'm doing better. It's been a struggle for the last 3 or 4 days, but I felt better today and got out on the practice field and threw some batting practice, tried to sweat some of this gunk out of me, and I hope I'll recover and be fine for the weekend. It's been a struggle, but I'm okay.
All right, this thing has it spread anywhere else on the team, or the only lucky one with it?
I think I'm the only lucky one. I did my part to stay away from the team as much as I possibly could over the course of the week, and I not only did I stay away from them, but I wasn't physically. I was so sick I couldn't even make it to the practice field anyway, even if I could. So. Luckily, no one else has come down with the same symptoms that I've had, so maybe we're in good shape.
Was it what you saw in Hoover that made you sick, or did you just pick up a bug somewhere?
Might have been a combination of both. Who knows? It was definitely some type of sickness. I was actually started feeling it when I was at Vanderbilt, actually, and I just think this time of the year sometimes you're more susceptible to catching those bugs and viruses because, coaches don't sleep much and stress is pretty high. And maybe don't have the right type of diet and exercise program at this type of year and this time of year, and your body's unable to fight some of that stuff off. But luckily, I've gotten some rest over the last couple of days, and I feel a lot better now than I have, than I have the previous few days.
All right, you guys have made a decision to go with Jordan Montgomery in the opener on Friday night against Campbell. What went into that decision to stick with your regular rotation?
Well, it's an important game. You can. There's so many different ways to look at a regional. You can throw, your number 2 guy, your number 3 guy, or whatever on Friday night, and set it up to have your number 1 guy on the winners bracket game on Saturday. But you got to win the first game first, and to have an opportunity to be in that winners bracket game, you need to win the first game. We have the utmost respect for Campbell. All 3 of our starters are capable of pitching on Friday night. We feel good about whoever we give the ball to Friday or Saturday. They all have similar numbers. Jordan's just one of those kids that he's got incredible makeup, and he's got experience pitching in NCAA settings and in tournament settings. And to get us off to a good start, we just thought it was important to give him the ball.
Now, he didn't have such a good outing last time out in the tournament. What did you see in that performance that you guys have talked to him about that he needs to avoid goes up against Campbell?
Well, one, Mississippi State did a great job against him, and he didn't locate his pitches. His pitches were up. His stuff was good. His velocity was good. He just lacked the usual Jordan Montgomery command that he usually possesses. And he pitched to the middle of the plate a little bit too much, and his changeup and fastball were up in the strike zone, and hitters can see it a little bit better when he's pitching at the belt. And for Jordan to be effective, he needs to be down at the knees, and he didn't have that type of command against Mississippi State and Hoover.
You said after finished in Hoover that see how Schrock and Bright felt this week, and you've made a decision that they're good to go, but you weren't going to give them the green light unless you felt like they were good to go every day, not just one day and then out for a day or two. So in your mind, you feel like they're good to go through the entire regional, barring something else popping up.
Yeah, right now I feel like they're good to go. They've practiced on consecutive days very well. Max has practiced extremely well since Sunday. Connor hadn't missed a practice since he's got been back since we've been back from Hoover. It's very encouraging that they've bounced back the way that they have and hadn't missed any practices, any swings, and they continue to feel better the next day, which is extremely important. So, right now, barring any setbacks, they'll be in there ready to go Friday night, and if they're healthy, they'll be in there all weekend long.
Mm-hmm. So you trot Connor right back out in the right field?
That would be my thought process right now, yes. Put him in right field, and then we'll make a decision with Gene Cone and Patrick Carrington in left. Some of that might come down to, a platoon-type deal, righty versus lefty and that kind of thing. I want both of those guys in the lineup. I think both of them can help us win the course of a ball game, and we might just use those guys to match up, the other versus the opponent's pitch, the pitcher that's against us. If they're, throwing a lefty, it might be more apt to play Harrington, and if, righty's in there, maybe we'll give Gene Cone the start.
So as we sit here tonight, you're not sure who's going to start. If it's going to be, say, Heath Bowers, or he's the right-hander, or Hector Cedeno, the left-hander, or somebody else?
Yeah, we're not sure, and the reason why is they're just waiting to practice tomorrow. They had a really deep tournament run in which they had to use a number of their top pitchers on multiple occasions, and I think they've been a little bit slow to bounce back. And maybe some of their pitchers are still a little bit sore. So we'll see. I guess we won't know maybe until tomorrow. But we scouted them all, so it's really no big deal. And when they inform us who the pitcher is, then we'll make our lineup and move forward. But we'll be prepared for whoever they put out there.
All right, now, one thing about this Campbell team, they lead the nation in being hit by pitches with 121. Now, why are they hit so much?
Well, it's a couple of years ago, the NCAA put out, the point of emphasis for umpires that you have to make a concerted attempt to move out of the way of a pitch. And, it's just not, and I think the reason they did that and they put that point of emphasis in there is that the hit by pitch shouldn't be an offensive weapon. It shouldn't be a play offensively. It should be, when you get hit by a pitch, it's a mistake on the pitcher's end. And there's been so many hit by pitches this year, and I'm not singling out Campbell, I'm just watching the video from across the country, that the pitches are awfully close to being a strike. And some, the hitter's elbows may be actually over the plate and getting hit by a pitch, and then the hitter's getting awarded first base. And I don't think that's right, and I don't think that's the intent of the rule. If the pitch is close and the pitch is inside the white lines of the two batters box, and it's close to being over the plate or it's close to being a strike, a hitter shouldn't be awarded first base because they get hit. Now, if they get hit in the back, the pitch gets away, curveball slips out, and the pitch is in the the batter's box in which the hitter's standing, I'm all for that. But the rule states that the hitter has to make an attempt to move out of the way. And on the point of emphasis a couple of years ago, I don't think it's been a point of emphasis with the umpires lately.
Will you make it a point to point that out to them on Friday?
Well, I just pointed it out. No, I don't. It's yeah. I mean, yes, and I love the way that Campbell, and there's a lot of other teams that we play that's been hit by a number of pitches. Kentucky, and there's teams in our league that get hit by pitches quite a bit. So this is nothing new to us. But you hate for a pitcher to make a pretty darn good pitch, and a hitter leans into a pitch and it's close to being a strike, and then they're awarded first base. That's not the intent of the rule, and that's not how that rule should be enforced, in my opinion.
Well, I hope you continue to feel better, and good luck to your guys over the weekend. Look forward to covering you guys as we'll be out there covering the regional, talking to you and the players. Best of luck, and thanks for being with us tonight.
Phil, thanks for having me, and appreciate it, and safe travels to you, and hope we'll see you when you get back in town.
You got it, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, Chad Holbrook. 121 times hit by pitch. Conversely, guys, South Carolina last in the SEC in being hit by pitches. So they don't stick their elbows out over the plate, apparently. We'll be back. Hey, let them handle Mike if you get him. Have you heard from Mike? Mike's good.
The hell are you listening to, Corn?
Just a video that somebody sent me.
Sounds like a flick, if you know what I mean.
Oh, no. I know who this is. Okay, my buddy sent me this. This hot babe on the Golf Channel, Holly Saunders.
Glad we gave you like $98 million on that contract.
Did you say you have Mike or you don't?
Yes.
Good. K-Mac got his commercials.
We've corralled Mike Morgan for tonight's Braves report, and Atlanta now heading to Fenway Park. 2 miserable games at Turner Field against the Bo Sox, and all of a sudden Boston has put things together, it would seem. But first, Mike, before we break down the game, some news from a local standpoint as the second baseman for the Braves tonight, making his Major League debut, Tommy La Stella, the former Coastal Carolina Chanticleer.
Yeah, it's kind of big news. The last time I saw Tommy La Stella, I was working the Big South Championship game a couple of years ago, and nobody could get that kid out. He was an unbelievable college player at Coastal, as you said. He's from New Jersey originally, and Coastal's able to recruit a lot of those northern guys who want to be near a beach. And this is the guy that ever since he went to the minors, he's been hitting. I mean, from A-ball to AAA, he's just hit at every level. So I think a lot of Braves fans have been clamoring for him to get a shot. The Braves have their productivity offensively from second base is dead last in Major League Baseball. So it's time. I mean, it's time to give somebody a shot. We'll see if it's too early or not, but I want to see him actually get a string of starts to actually get a good sample size of whether or not this kid can do it right now.
So does this mean that the Braves are willing to just eat Dan Uggla's contract? If an American League team wants him, try him out as a DH, you can have him. We'll pay half or 3/4 his salary just to get him off the field.
Get a bag of balls in return at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The guy that got optioned, of course, was not Dan Uggla. It was Tyler Pasternicki, who's now back in Gwinnett. I just don't know. I mean, if it was as simple as, yeah, get rid of Dan Uggla because somebody will take on the contract, that would have been done a while ago. There are no takers. I mean, literally no takers at this point. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of the Derek Lowe situation, but when you're a pitcher, I think you always get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt from some team out there that's desperate for some arms, which always seems to be the case. But when you're a second baseman and you haven't been able to hit at the Mendoza line for the last 3 years, and you've looked more inept now than ever, there's just no reason for any team to be clamoring for Dan Uggla at this point. So I just don't know how realistic a trade is.
Now, as far as the Braves with Boston, because they've had problems with Boston before, and I don't know, the Braves pitching is pretty good when you look at it on the surface, but teams like Boston, some of their hitters will swing at anything. They're very aggressive at the plate, and it's hard to get a feel on how to pitch them. Is that a key to why the Red Sox hitters seem to be successful against the Braves, not just these last 2 games, but it seems since interleague play has started, the Braves have had problems with the Red Sox?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think the one thing I would never want to do is have to face a team like the Red Sox or the Yankees coming in on a 10-game losing streak, and that's what the Braves drew. That's not an excuse. It's just to say that eventually Boston's going to hit, and eventually Boston's going to win. And, of course, they did both, and that was the situation. The other thing is the Braves staff ERA has gone up about a run and a half the last 3 weeks. So it hasn't just been against Boston. The pitching is starting to go south a little bit. Irvin Santana's starting to get roughed up and humbled. You know, some of those guys that were unhittable in April have really been humbled in late May. So we'll see if that trend can be stymied here soon and put an end to that. But I don't think it's just Boston right now. I think the Braves pitching has taken a little bit of a step south.
And, Mike, we know you're going to be doing some baseball work, some college baseball work this week down in Oxford.
Yeah, it's my second straight year doing a regional for ESPN, and couldn't be more excited. Oxford is, to me, one of the top regionals. I judge them 1 through 3. The 4 seed is usually a sacrificial lamb. But when you've got Ole Miss, the number 1, who a lot of people thought would get a national seed, Washington, number 2, who barely finished behind Oregon State in the Pac-12 and led the league in hitting and has a stud pitcher, and that'll start probably in Game 2. And then the number 3 seed is a team, K-Mac, you just saw win the ACC tournament in Georgia Tech. I know they've been inconsistent all year, but I've had a few of their games this year. They've got talent. So I think it'll be a very interesting regional. I'm looking forward to it.
Mike, we appreciate it. We'll see if we can track you down any more this week in between doing those games in Oxford, and we'll look for you on that coverage as we watch the regionals play out on ESPN, their family of networks, where they'll be just hopscotching on a few of the channels where they'll just go to game, so you get a chance to see Mike, certainly, if you're watching college baseball throughout the weekend. Our Braves Report with Mike Morgan, brought to you by Witt Suber of Home Shop Realty, where you pay less for more. Call 803-518-3888 today. Back with more sports talk here in our Columbia studios and up in the Music City, Las Vegas, where Corn is set up.
All right, nice job, nice job. Got to do a spot here. Do 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 do.
All right, gentlemen, stand by. Coming back.
All right, thanks to Mike for being with us. Hopefully the Braves can get it going tonight. I need them to take care of business for me against the Red Sox. I don't need them to be losing games at Turner Field to Boston. You got Boston down. You got your boot on the throat. You got to keep it on them because they always tend to recover from the depths of despair and make a run. And so, being a Yankee fan, of course, I want to see them continue to be obliterated. They have gotten up off the mat the last two nights and taken it to the Braves, and they'll try to do the same thing tonight up at Fenway Park. Updating the NCAA Golf Championship match, Alabama is up 3-1. They won one of the holes with a hole-in-one by Bobby Wyatt. So that's how you do it. They're down to the last 6 holes. They're playing 13 through 18. So Alabama closing in possibly on a men's national championship. That taking place out in Kansas, I believe. Hutchinson, Kansas is where that course is located, and we'll keep an eye on that the rest of the program for you. Want more out of your education? Palmetto College offers the quality of a 4-year education online. To find out more, visit palmettocollege.sc.edu. With Palmetto College, your future has no limits. All right, coming up in the next hour, we'll be talking with Coach Don Green. He is the coach of James Thompson, 6'9", about 215 pounds, out of Parkview Baptist in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He's going to sign tomorrow in a private ceremony. This is a kid that does not like a lot of publicity, his coach said. He's not into Twitter and Facebook, and he's not into recruiting rankings and being involved in the recruiting scuttlebutt. That's one of the reasons why all of this was so quiet. He visited a couple of weekends ago. David Cloninger from the state, GoGamecocks.com, was the first person I saw who mentioned that he visited
for that weekend. And outside of that, I tried to reach the coach several times, tried to reach Thompson several times over the past few weeks with no luck. So they were playing it real close to the vest, trying to keep the attention down to a minimum, I guess, until they made the decision to go with South Carolina. His father, a big part of the decision-making process, was with him on the visit to USC and was very impressed by what they saw. And, of course, they like Frank Martin, guys. Frank Martin is doing a real good job in the recruiting process of selling himself, because really, still, at this point in time, I think Frank Martin is the number one thing they have to sell in the basketball program. Everything else aside, the facilities, academics, etc. I mean, let's face it, Frank Martin is probably the primary reason anybody who picks South Carolina does so right now.
Well, you got to bring him into the tent. By the way, the SEC basketball coaches, like the ACC coaches, exhibition games, they will experiment with the 30-second clock. However, the ADs have to rubber stamp that, which they are expected to do.
Also
What's
talking about
35-second clock?
An early signing period, Corn, we'll have to get into in the next hour that the SEC is proposing.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll be right back.
You.
Which of the Gamecock players you want to run? Connor Bright's shorter, so we can run him in a shorter second.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
We're back, Sports Talk, here on a Wednesday night. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornbluth in Nashville for the Vanderbilt Regional. Tomorrow there'll be practice over at Hawkins Field, and we'll be there for that. We'll talk to the Tigers, and we'll talk to the folks from Oregon as well, get the lowdown on both teams as they get ready for their matchup on Friday afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern Time will be first pitch in that one. Clemson will be the visiting team as a number 3 seed facing the number 2 seed. The Tigers will be the visiting team in that first game on Friday afternoon. Which I'm trying to think here, guys. Do they go strictly by seeds or does it flip? I'm thinking ahead. Let's just say Clemson wins. They play Vanderbilt on Saturday. Vanderbilt will be the home team in its game on Friday night. Wouldn't Clemson be the home team on Saturday? Don't they flip? The most recent visitor becomes the home team. Am I correct about that?
I don't know if they start doing the flipping stuff until Sunday. I think at that point maybe you flip, but I think on Friday and Saturday the higher seeds are the home team. I'm not exactly sure. We go through this every year, but I'm pretty sure that Vanderbilt would still be the home team on Saturday, and then on Sunday if they met again, it'd be a coin flip, and on Monday it would be a coin flip also. If it went that far.
We'll hear from the Gamecocks, Connor Bright, and from Max Schrock coming up. K-Mac talked to both of them today to get the latest on how they're feeling. You heard from Chad Holbrook earlier saying that both are good to go and good to go through the weekend unless they do something else to themselves. I'll tell you what, guys, if you're Max Schrock in his 2 years at South Carolina, how much more can you do to yourself? I mean, he's hurt himself both seasons, and he's hurt himself seriously in both seasons.
Yeah, and what's really remarkable about this season, it hasn't just been one thing. He had the ankle injury, and he said right when he came back from that was feeling good. Almost instantly, the back started acting up. But despite that, and we've heard stories and reports that he was going to be shut down, he said he never really thought he would not play again. But he's had some remarkable moments this season. That walk-off home run, the game-winning hits. He's really, despite being limited, he's managed to make a pretty big impact on his team. And he did stress he can't get more hurt. The injury can't get worse. The only thing he has to deal with is a pain threshold, and that's been the challenge to this point.
It'll be interesting. You know, part of being a great player is the ability to stay healthy. And we've all talked to players who said, well, why did you do so-and-so? He said, well, I felt something about the tear or something, so I made another move so it wouldn't happen. Sometimes guys just play with reckless abandon, Phil, and it's almost like turning loose a bull in a china shop. They can't help themselves.
This is true. You know, I failed to ask Holbrook about Elliot Caldwell, and K-Mac, was there any scuttlebutt about him when you were over at practice today?
No, did not see, talk to, or talk about Elliot Caldwell today.
Yeah. I mean, you know, he was his back situation. They were hoping it would get better in time for the regional, but obviously that's not the case at this point. Okay, we're going to find out more about the Gamecock basketball recruit.
Well said. Got it. Email it to you? Yes. Yeah, I was about to say, I can only imagine the cursing you did yourself there. There's nobody that can curse me out better than myself. I'm good at that.
Whew, you have to be crazy to go outside in this heat. Like
blood clot.
Water thing of his. It's like a snowmobile that floats. Doesn't he worry about being swept out to sea? Or sharks? You're gonna eat that thing all over yourself.
Some people want more out of life, and we insure the things that make more possible. Safeco Insurance. Find a local agent at safeco.com.
All right, stand by, Corn. We're coming back.
And we're back, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have you with us. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, all with you tonight. And as we mentioned at the first part of the program, USC is going to sign a big power forward tomorrow in James Thompson from Parkview Baptist School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He goes 6'9", about 215. His coach is Don Green, and he joins us here on Sports Talk. Coach, good evening. How are you?
I am great. How are you guys?
Man, we're doing great. Good to have you with us. And I know South Carolina's got to be excited about signing your big guy in James Thompson. How did Frank Martin come in there and get James away from LSU right in his own backyard, along with some of the other big schools, major schools that recruited him?
I think it was just developing that consistent relationship with the young man. And, it just kind of worked out. The timing of it, the opportunity to play, the fact that James was always somewhat interested in going out of state to play. And I just think that, all the stars aligned, and it just worked out for both parties.
When did Coach Martin and the Gamecock staff begin to show some serious interest?
They had been following James ever since Perry Clark had arrived on that staff. Perry, being from New Orleans, Louisiana native, recruited this area, and it really kind of started, way back in November of last year. And that relationship began, and Perry made several visits, and Coach Martin came and visited himself, and it was just one of those things. It just kind of worked out for everybody, and we're all just looking forward to a great experience.
So James made the visit to South Carolina with his father, got the grand tour and a chance to sit down with the coaching staff and talk more with them. What did he come away with from that visit that really impressed him and kind of moved him towards making the decision to go with the Gamecocks?
I think it was more of his dad, to be frank. I think that he really loved the campus. He said it reminded him a lot of the school that James was in, and he just thought that the coaching staff was very upfront with them about the possibilities of having the chance to come in and contribute. Obviously he's got to work for it, but that opportunity plus the staff plus the similarities of the schools just really played well with both James and the dad, and after that it was just a matter of just coming to the realization that was a place that's going to be good for him.
Talking with Coach Don Green, James Thompson, his 6'9" big guy, headed to South Carolina, going to sign the letter of intent tomorrow at a private ceremony, correct?
That is correct.
And he's a kid, from talking with you earlier, in the private ceremony and the lack of attention paid to his, well, I shouldn't say attention, maybe the lack of notoriety given his recruiting process. Is he a young man that kind of shies away from the publicity and the limelight of being a big-time basketball player?
Yes and no. Yes, from the standpoint that he's never into recruiting services. He's never into kids that are supposedly ranked higher or lower. So from that standpoint, yes, he's not really interested in that. No, from the standpoint that he enjoys the competition. And the ceremony is more or less just a celebration, if you will, for it's at one of our parents' home, who James has meant a lot to our school, and I think it's been a good marriage for him, for both the school and him, and I think he's learned a lot from us, but at the same time he has really made an impact on our school and our student body. So this is more of a celebration, for him and his family, that the team and the school is just really wanting to say thank you in a big way.
So what kind of player is South Carolina getting, and should Gamecock fans expect some immediate contribution from him next season, or will he need some time to kind of work his way into things and kind of get his game up to speed from an SEC standpoint?
I think more or less of being able to come in and to, support the young men that are already there. The Southeastern Conference is an outstanding basketball conference. And, you just don't come in and just begin to, think you're going to make those types of impact. Now, this is only my opinion. James has not said this, but I see him as a young guy coming in, being able to, because he's got to get stronger. He's going to do that, and I'm sure South Carolina will do that for him. But, the physicality of the game, the speed of the game is going to be different than what he's used to. The practices, the speed of that, the physicality of that is going to be different. So, I think his learning curve will be quick, but at the same time, he fully understands that, he needs to come in and work. And whatever happens after that, will happen, because he's been promised nothing outside of an opportunity to play, I think at an up-and-coming basketball program. And what he does from there is really going to be on him. And he understands that, and I think he's looking just to contribute any way he can.
What's the best part of his game?
His motor. He is the type of kid that he's relentless around the goal. He is a very good offensive rebounder. He's an excellent defensive rebounder as well, shot blocker. He runs the court like a guard. He can finish, pretty strongly. He's going to have to learn how to, go on the perimeter and be able to play out there some. And once he gets that skill down, I think he can be as good as he wants to be, because there are really no bad habits. He really didn't get started and focusing on basketball really till the 8th grade. He loved football more than basketball, but he grew so doggone much that his body just took off, and and basketball just became something I think he did because he was so tall, but his skill level increased so much because one of the things he does well is he's very coachable. So once you show him something, immediately that can be put into his ability to play the game better. So, his ability to learn, his aggressiveness, and his athleticism, I think, are going to be things that are going to pay great dividends for him.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the coachable part because, as you well know, Frank Martin's reputation is that of, at times, being really hard on his players, especially behind the scenes in practice. Is James the kind of guy that can take that kind of in-your-face, very tough style of coaching?
I think he can, but I will say this, I coached against Coach Martin, when when he was in the high school ranks at Miami Senior. So we've been kind of knowing about each other for a long time. And, one of the things that I know is going on, that there's a balance that's always being had, because no kid will tolerate, one side of a coach that may be tough, but not getting the other side as well. And I think that's something that James functions very well in, the fact that if there is a balance, if there is consistency, you don't have a problem with him competing at all. So I think it'll be new for him, but at the same time, I don't think there's anything that he's not aware of, nor is he prepared for.
Sounds good. 18 points and how many rebounds per game last year?
12 boards a game, 4 blocks. And he's a 3-time All-State selection, 3A, from our we have 5 divisions in Louisiana, and so 3A is right there in the middle. And he's been the MVP of the district for 2 out of the last 3 years, 3 out of the last 4. I'm sorry. And he's just a kid that I think is going to be a better college player than he ever was in high school, because unfortunately there are not very many referees who know how to referee a kid that's that size. And so I just think as he goes into the collegiate ranks, which he's going to be a little bit more physical, obviously, but I really look forward to him, having a good future there. And it's going to be a learning process, and he knows that. And that's why I reiterate the fact that he needs to go in and understand that the opportunities you get are going to be based on what you do as far as your work ethic. But at the same time, there are guys who are already there, who've made contributions. So just go in with the right mindset and go to work every day, go to class every day, and do what they ask you to do, and he should be fine.
Coach, we appreciate it very much. Congratulations to you and to James, and good luck tomorrow with the signing ceremony, and we'll be right back.
Read a spot here. I got the audio saved. I'm sending it to you right now.
Once again, thanks to Coach Don Green. Sounds like a heck of a prospect, guys. I wonder if the Gamecocks really stole one here. Someone 6'9", about 215, and you bring him in. If he's got skills, you put a little more weight on him pro and maybe develop that inside game. He becomes a force. He becomes a shot blocker and rebounder. Apparently he's got the outside touch to be a threat there as well. This is the kind of guy that maybe a lot of folks around here haven't heard a lot about, but it appears to me he had some very good interest and some very good offers, and this could be a guy that you bring in, you develop, you have him for 4 years, and he turns out to be a major contributor to your program.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of teams in the NCAAs that have made moves, and then you say, well, where did this guy come from? Well, there's a lot of diamonds in the rough out there, and I think Frank Martin is beginning to mine some of those diamonds. Obviously, you heard that Perry Clark was instrumental in making contact because of his contacts in Louisiana, and the fact that Frank Martin knows Coach Green. I guess they coached against each other in high school. So that's why I tell people every time when you get in the work world, especially young people, you never know who you'll run into that you may have to lean on or will help you out in the future. And apparently Frank Martin has made an impression on this coach and of course, later on made an impression on the kid and his parents. And they come up with a guy that Phil, I think probably when we work with a big guy, as he says, his motor never stops running. Your only fear is that he'll have to learn to pick his spots, because you don't want a guy to go out there over aggressive and then you look up 5 minutes in the game and he's got 2 or 3 fouls. And I think that's probably part of his learning curve there, is the ability to know what is a foul, what he can get away with as a freshman, maybe he can get away with as an upperclassman, that sort of thing when he learns about dealing with the physicality of a league like the SEC.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens over the next few years, but looks like a very fine pickup for Frank Martin and the Gamecocks. The 7-11-21 instant game has lucky numbers written all over it. With this dollar instant game, you could win up to $1,000, and that's from the South Carolina Education Lottery. For those of you who have been following the NCAA Golf Championship, stroke for stroke KMAC, Alabama closing in on the championship, just down to the last couple of holes, and the Crimson Tide has won 2 matches, and they lead in 2 others in the final couple of holes. So they're one more match victory away from clinching the championship. So the SEC can claim another national championship. Does it make up for football, K-Mac? If Alabama fans, they didn't get the football national championship, but they're going to get the men's golf national championship.
No, not even close.
Yeah.
National championship.
I'm not even going to dignify that question with a response. It's so ridiculous.
I bet you in Tuscaloosa,
the fact that we are even
spending
valued airtime on this famed show on the golf championship that doesn't involve any of our teams.
They'll give a yay, but it's not going to be any dancing in the streets.
I believe in being a comprehensive sports talk show, K-Mac, and if it involves
appealing to an audience of nobody
in our area, by God, I'm going to bring it to the forefront. All right, we'll come back here from a couple of Gamecocks in a moment. By God, I'm going to bring it to the forefront. All right, we'll come back here from a couple.
This is the story of Mrs.
Absolutely not. Nope. Nope. You were too busy yelling at K-Mac about obligatory stuff. Yeah, we'll do more in the SEC meetings there, K-Mac. You want to run Connor Bright or Max Schrock?
Coming up, we'll hear from a couple of Gamecock baseball players who will be back going full speed and full time this weekend. But let's pick back up on the SEC meeting stuff that K-Mac touched on a little while ago. And you were talking about an early signing situation. What's the latest from the SEC folks on that?
Yeah, not all of the SEC coaches are in favor of an early signing period, but they're getting the feeling that this could be coming down the pipe in the future, maybe the not so distant future. So the coaches did unanimously agree that if there is an early signing day implemented, it should be the first Monday after Thanksgiving each year. The ACC suggested an early signing period that would begin August 1st. The SEC coaches firmly oppose that timetable. Mike Slive said that's because the SEC coaches don't believe that August 1st timetable really meshes with the recruiting calendar. Now, Mark Richt elaborated on the coaches' thinking behind the Monday after Thanksgiving signing day, and he said there would be some rules. You could only sign on that day. If you did not sign on that day, you would have to wait until the early February signing day, the traditional signing day, and also it would be limited to players who choose not to make any official visits to college campuses before signing. Rick said the SEC coaches did not vote on whether, given their preference, they'd favor having an early signing day at all, although several made it known their opposition. Steve Spurrier was one of the coaches that said he's not in favor of an early signing period, but of course he voted, if they're going to have one, to do it on this particular day.
I would imagine you'd have to be fully academically qualified before they let you put your name on the dotted line, I would think.
I would think
so. Why is that? They don't make
period.
it. You don't have to be fully qualified now under the current rules.
Well,
a lot of guys sign who aren't fully qualified.
That's true.
Yeah,
still have time.
That's why I'm thinking that if you're really going to get a guy early, you want to make sure he's qualified so you can count him on your numbers as you continue to recruit. That's why I mentioned that.
Mike Slive did say he hopes the early signing period is not on the agenda for the Conference Commissioners Association in June. This is just being talked about more and more, but I
don't know why there would be such a Yeah, I don't know. You know, with recruiters pushing the envelope more and more and offering kids earlier and earlier, and kids making decisions. Now, it feels to me like May 31st is National Signing Day. Everybody seems to be rushing for the most part to get their commitment done by May. Some are doing it in early June. If you haven't made your commitment by July 4th, you could be left out. Number one,
right.
where you really want to go. So everything's been pushed up. I saw a tweet from a major prospect, Austin Bryant, tweeted the other day that he wishes they would have an early signing period so they could take their official visits earlier, get those done, and go ahead and make their decision and get it locked down. And it would suit me, and I think it would suit everybody for an early signing period. I'm not so sure Thanksgiving. I kind of like even earlier than that. And get it done. And if you sign, then that takes away all the wavering and the decommitments and that nonsense we have to put up with. So I see nothing wrong with having an early signing period, but make it real early. I mean, the Monday after Thanksgiving is really what, it's a couple of months before the current signing date. I would say go ahead and do something like the end of May. Let kids take official visits in the spring. Many of them are taking visits now, including not just short trips. The guys are coming from hundreds of miles away for unofficial visits. Turn them into official visits, pay for them, bring the families in, give them the full treatment, have a signing period, Memorial Day weekend or something.
Yeah,
and
it takes
get it
away.
over with.
I mean, that Monday after Thanksgiving, the regular season just ended on that Sunday, or Saturday rather. So then you're going to have the whole selection process for the 4-team playoff. And it seems like it could get lost in all the shuffle, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. That's one thing about the February signing day. At least it gives you one day in February to get a little bit of a football fix before spring practice starts, where you get it again. Do it in August, it would give you something to keep you occupied in the middle of the summer, give you your August 1st football fix. I tend to like the ACC's proposal better than the SEC's.
Well, tell me this.
Yeah.
As far as the playoffs are concerned, remind me, when do they end in football, when they get to the championships?
For who?
For high school football. Say in South Carolina.
In South Carolina, the state championships are the first weekend in December.
Yeah,
okay,
December,
okay.
3rd, 4th.
Because see, I almost have this specter of in the back of some coaches' minds. Let them get the high school season out of the way, and we'll see if they get injured. Then we'll sign them. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm seeing. Rather than sign them before their senior high school season, and then then they have an injury, but we got to take him. He's already signed. I almost think that specter is still floating around in some coach's head.
And I want to pass this one other nugget along, because what would the SEC meetings be without one golden nugget from the head ball coach, Steve Spurrier? Josh Kendall, or somebody there, this is a Josh Kendall tweet at Josh at the State. Spurrier was asked if he's ready to turn his attention to Texas A&M. Here's his quote: "No, I'm ready to turn my focus on golf tomorrow." Steve Spurrier.
He's probably watching the NCAA golf championship, which, by the way, came out. Alabama has now won.
I'm sure he would be going, no, I'm thinking about the Bahamas.
See,
congratulations to the Crimson Tide.
Yeah,
yes,
that would be
everybody
to see a 30
cars back on the road now.
And that really would mean something when you see the ball rolled on a 30-foot putt to win, and they yell "Roll Tide" as it goes into the cup.
That's pretty good.
Hey, let's hear from Connor Bright, K-Mac. You had a chance to talk with him today. What's the story?
Yeah, he's finally ready to get back out there. His elbow issue, he was in the hospital for a while with what they just call the health scare that apparently was, very scary issue for him and the coaching staff and everybody involved there. But he feels like he's ready to get back on the field.
2 treatments a day, and I'm feeling back, to the way I was before this whole wild injury.
How long have you been practicing?
It's been a pretty long time now. It's been probably 2 weeks. So yeah, not trying to do too much. Not trying to re-injure anything. Just going probably 75%, and getting my throws down and swinging swinging easy and trying to get back in the swing of things.
What are your expectations for playing this weekend?
I talked to coach. We're looking to play. I'm gonna give it my all, and hopefully just like we always play. Hopefully with the team and me play as a unit and we get a win.
Will you be in the starting lineup Friday?
Hopefully that's the plan. I hadn't talked much about it. We sort of take it day by day, and if I'm feeling good, I feel like that's the plan. Yeah.
How close does that elbow feel to being like maybe it felt before the injury? I mean, do you feel like you could really you got to make a throw in the ninth inning or something that you could turn one loose or?
Yeah, so that's what was sort of holding me back. The last couple games is coach wasn't going to put me out there with the game on the line, and but yeah, it's feeling back to normal now, and I have that confidence again now that I've been doing treatment and getting sort of back in the swing of things during practice the last 2 weeks.
And how tough do you think it's going to be to face game pitching? You hadn't seen much game pitching lately.
Yeah, well, we've been scrimmaging during the week during our 2-a-days and stuff, so I've been seeing some live pitching, and that was a major goal this week was to see some live pitching, and I got to see some live pitching Mississippi State game, first game of the SEC tournament, and so I've been in there and seen it, but it's gonna be sort of a step for me, but I'm looking forward to it and looking forward to the challenge.
You call it a wild injury. How frustrating has it been?
Yeah, no kidding. It's been up and down, and it feels great one day and real bad the next, and sort of how it happened was the wildest thing, and I'm just looking forward to feeling better and getting back out there.
All right, Connor Bright, the Gamecocks get their leading hitter back. It's always good to get the guy back who can put the ball in play. 331 average. He's been a big surprise this year. Got off to the great start, remember, and was really tearing the cover off the ball, and then ran into the injury situation, the elbow, and cost him a bunch of games this year. But having him back in the lineup has certainly got to be a boost for the Gamecocks. All right, we're going to hit a break. We've got recruiting coming up for you after this timeout. Okay, we got recruiting coming up for you here on Sports Talk in just a moment, and also we'll take a look at some real early football bowl projections that, of course, ESPN, which has to be out in front of everybody. These aren't the 2014 season bowl projections. These are the 2017 season bowl projections. This is how early ESPN. I'm only kidding, but they do like to be out in front of everybody on everything. Hey, you want more out of your education? Palmetto College offers the quality of a 4-year education online. To find out more, visit palmettocollege.sc.edu. With Palmetto College, your future, it has no limits. Now, recruiting for tonight, of course, in basketball, you heard the interview that we had with the coach of James Thompson, headed to South Carolina, 6'9" forward, 18 points, 12 rebounds, and 5 blocks per game. Also in basketball, Michael Carvel of the AJC reported last night that Robert Carter Jr., the 6'8" forward who is transferring from Georgia Tech, plans to pay a recruiting visit to USC on Saturday. His AAU coach, Winford Jordan, and Frank Martin have a connection that goes back to when Carter was coached by Martin during the USA team trials a few years ago. Actually, it's Carter and Martin who have that connection. Carter has been to St. John's, and he's going to visit Maryland on Monday. There's been speculation the Terps are the favorite. One of Carter's former high school and AAU teammates will be a freshman at Maryland this year. Carter is one of the top transfers still available, and one of at least 2 USC is actively pursuing. 6'7" Daniel House Jr., a Houston transfer, has visited USC, UCLA, and Texas A&M. Now to football. Defensive end Michael Barnett of Woodland has plans to visit 4 schools this summer. He calls them the top 4 on his list: Georgia, Florida State, NC State, LSU. He says they're all about even. He feels NC State showing him a little more interest than the others, but not that much more. He plans to wait until National Signing Day to announce a decision. He said there is a possibility he could announce before then, but it's unlikely. USC is out, he says. He still has some interest in Clemson, he says, but he says he wouldn't call the Tigers a big factor with him. He said his decision will come down to the best fit, adding he'd like to attend a school where he can major in broadcasting. His visits for the summer have not been scheduled. He does not plan to attend any camps. Commentary here with Clemson not offering broadcasting, and of course South Carolina offering broadcasting. You wonder why the Gamecocks did not make more of a push for Barnett. They were late to offer him. Now, he did commit early to Virginia Tech, but backed off of that. It took USC a long time to offer him, and by then I think he had pretty much turned his mind elsewhere away from the Gamecocks. So perhaps maybe South Carolina feels like they're in good enough shape with other players at defensive end not to worry about one inside their own state. Of course, they've got the Blackshear kid from Bluffton, a big-time defensive end, already committed, and they may come away with Arden Key, who, of course, was previously committed to the Gamecocks. Now, he told us last night he has made his decision, and he has notified the school that he's chosen. He still plans to reveal the choice on June 10th, at least for now. He says he's not 100% about the 10th. He said some school might change his mind. Of course, he's done that before. He decommitted from USC. In his most recent top 5, he listed Oregon, Miami, LSU, Ole Miss, and USC in that order. Now, some of the internet recruiting people have scoffed at that, insisting that USC is the favorite. And Key said, quote, "They don't know what they're talking about. That top 5 is relevant. I know where I'm going right now. I feel good about the choice. They have a high graduate rate, and mostly I have a good relationship with the coaches and the school itself." End of the quote. Key says he has visited the school. USC was twice by this spring to check on him. He last talked with recruiter Lorenzo Ward about a week ago. He does plan to visit USC again on June 13th. Key has told his former assistant, Clifford Browning, about his decision. Browning worked closely with Key on his decision. And Browning said, quote, "I think he'll shock a few people. It's a good decision for him." End of the quote. So we shall see. A lot of people think it's South Carolina. It may well be. He may be playing me like a trumpet? I don't know, but that is what he said. Also in recruiting, offensive lineman Brandon Sandifer, who has USC and Alabama at the top of his list, made a visit to USC today. However, K-Mac, the fact that Alabama just won the golf national championship, I think weighs heavily on Sandifer with his decision.
Yawn.
Could be. I
think he's influenced by liking to go where people win championships. Receiver Arcega, J.J. Arcega-Whites out of Dorman, picked up an offer from Cincinnati today. That's his 16th. Be right back.
Yes. Check engine lights in on your car for what? You don't know? You haven't taken it in yet? Why don't you just hand it over to Heyman there? Oh, so he's not there now. Okay, so he's coming back while you're there. Why don't you surprise him with Travis Tritt tickets? I don't know, Corn. I'm making it up. Some country act up there. Stand by.
A couple more recruiting notes. Tight end Chris Clark from Maryland is going to visit Tennessee next week. He's also a USC target. And defensive end Marquez Ford from Florida released his favorites lists: Clemson, Central Florida, Virginia Tech, Nebraska, Miami, Duke, Tennessee, Rutgers. And that's in no particular order. All right, there you go with the recruiting tonight. Available online, sportstalksc.com. Make sure you follow us on Twitter as far as various recruiting notes that we put on Twitter. Hashtag ST Recruiting. Hashtag ST Recruiting for that on Twitter. All right, ESPN has come up with their bowl projections for this coming season. Mark Schlabach and Brett McMurphy.
BOLD or BOWL?
Yeah, really. BOWL.
Okay.
Let's see. Schlabach has got the Gamecocks and Nebraska in the Outback Bowl, and Clemson and Auburn in the Orange Bowl. Let's see. They've got McMurphy has got South Carolina and Florida State in the Orange Bowl, and he has got Clemson. Does he have Clemson going bowling? He got Clemson playing what?
Certainly, Dave.
He's got Clemson in the Russell Athletic Bowl against Kansas State.
Everybody goes to a bowl game. It's like a participation match.
Athletic Bowl.
But I mean, the Russell Athletic Bowl, that's that early game in Orlando.
Well, but that's not a bad bowl game in the ACC tier. It's one of two Florida bowl games that the ACC has.
Yeah, but it's not where not where Tiger fans expect to be.
By the way,
back in the what used to be the BCS, now it's the Orange Bowl.
I will say this, by the way, we're going to this playoff system. the bowls that are in this rotation, they haven't signed the contracts yet. What are they waiting for?
Well, they better get them signed.
This is interesting.
What are they waiting on?
Obviously, they say they're just working out some wording, but if you know you're going to have the playoff system, you waiting around here, and it's almost less than 100 days for the season start. You haven't signed the contracts. Come on.
You better get it signed, or somebody's going to slide in there and sign them away from you. You'll be left holding the bag. All right. Tomorrow, we begin more intense coverage of the regionals. We've got news conferences in Columbia as well as here in Nashville. We'll have all that covered for you here on the program, bring you the latest from those two sites, get you ready for the big weekend of baseball regionals upcoming. The road to Omaha begins on Friday for Clemson and South Carolina and the College of Charleston. So don't forget the Cougars playing the Florida Gators down in Gainesville. Final thoughts from you guys?
Well, it's time to get the baseball going. It'll be interesting to see. You hear a lot of pundits say the best team may be South Carolina if they're healthy, but health has been an issue all year long.
It's all about
let's
being
hope
healthy.
for them it's not an issue this time. You guys have a great night, and we'll be back with you tomorrow night from here in Nashville and Columbia. Good night, everybody.
Yo, I'm here. I don't believe so. They hadn't told me otherwise. Yeah, I'm sending it. I don't know why I keep forgetting to send it, but I'm sending it right now. I'm physically doing it as we speak. Yeah, excellent. That was a quality setup there. You too, man. Be good. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.